Let's move on to the second sample. Right, so now we understand the sort of production process that's going to go into this, and we put it in the context of a new region. So we were in Argentina before, where that high altitude was going to help preserve that lovely fresh aroma and that acidity. This time we're in Napa Valley in California. Again, a region maybe more widely associated as having a warmer climate than places like Champagne, certainly. So where are the cooling influences going to come from in a region like California, in Napa? And this time it's going to come from the sea. So you'll see how close Napa is to the coastline, and in particular how close it is to this bay here, the San Pablo Bay. And what happens as pretty much a daily occurrence in this part of California is sea fog, sea mist coming inland through the bay and up this valley, which is Napa Valley, and this fog comes into the vineyard areas. And that fog is going to act like a protective cooling layer against the heat of the sun. If you were in Los Carneros, down at the bottom of the valley, and you can just see the bay here, the effect of the fog is going to be quite high. By the time you get further north into places like Rutherford, Calistoga, the effect of the fog is going to be lessened massively. Okay, it's going to burn off quicker, it might not have even reached there, depending on the conditions each day. So, in terms of sparkling wine production, we're going to prefer to be at the southern end of Napa Valley for our production, where the cooler vineyards are, because of that cooling influence of the fog. This wine here is made with a combination of grapes from Los Carneros, Yountville here, and also Mount Vida. Now, Mount Vida is this elevated area, sort of more mountainous region of Napa Valley. Now, this will have some fog influence, but the fog, remember, is going to hug sort of down at the lower levels of the valley. So Mount Vida might have that effect in the lower vineyards, but higher up it's not. So again, when we get into those vineyard areas, we're going to depend on the cooling influences of altitude that we've already seen in Argentina. Not to the same extent, but it's certainly going to have an effect. It's also known as a cooler region because when that fog is in the valley, Mount Vida is on the west section facing east, and the sun is rising from the east. So when the morning fog is in the valley, that's helping as a barrier between the sun over here and Mount Vida over here, and you have the fog in between. As the day goes on and the fog burns off, the sun is now over here, facing the other direction. So Mount Vida is protected from the full heat of that afternoon sun, because it's facing the other way. So this is known as maybe the coolest area in Napa Valley for wine production. This is where we're seeing more of our Chardonnay and Pinot Noir that's going to be used for sparkling wine as well. And that's what we've got in glass number 2. So again, pale lemon, we can whiz through that. But on the nose, we are seeing a different sort of character on the nose. There are more of those secondary aromas, we would call them. More of those aromas from the second fermentation. So we've got some peach in there, we've got some ripe apple, we've got some apple skin. Apple skin is something that we might associate with some yeast contact. We've got some bready aromas there this time. They are stronger in this glass of wine. I'm not telling you that this is the most autolytic, yeasty character sparkling wine you can get, but it's definitely more pronounced than wine number 1. Let's have a taste. Okay, if you weren't getting it on the nose, I think you definitely get it on the palate. That biscuity, bready aroma. This wine's had at least 12 months in contact, 1 year in contact with those dead yeast cells. So naturally, those aromas are going to be more pronounced. In terms of structure, quite a similar structure. I'd say there's a little bit more body here. I think we're into medium body in the world of sparkling wines, compared to the first one, which was definitely light-bodied. I think also on this one, you will notice some of that sweetness that comes from topping up with that liqueur d'expédition, with that sugary liquid that goes in at the end. Here we're at near sort of 11 grams per litre of sugar has gone into this final product. That's definitely noticeable, but it's in balance. It's in balance with the high acidity again. Right. So there are two regions that we will look at in our courses. We've looked at Mendoza and we've looked at Napa Valley. This is one region of the world that we don't have in our textbooks and you won't be tested on in any exams of ours. But is a new emerging region for wine production, high quality wine production. And we're right in the middle of China. This is Ningxia province in the middle of the country. This is where our third wine is coming from. This is Chandon's most recent acquisition in terms of global sparkling production. They've been there just from 2014. Okay? So before Mendoza, we had high altitude that was giving us our freshness, giving the acidity, preserving those delicate fruit aromas. In Napa, we have the effect of the sea and those fogs and those cold breezes that come in each day. In the middle of China, you can see that the influence of the sea is going to be pretty difficult. We are hundreds, thousands of miles away from the sea here. No sea influence here. We're not at a particularly high altitude in this region. It's in the foothills, but we're not at a particularly high region, certainly nothing like Mendoza. But what we've got, because we're right in the middle of the country and right in the middle of this big land mass, what we describe this climate as is continental. And this has a really high continentality, we say. And basically what that means is the difference between summer temperatures and winter temperatures is massive. Quite warm summers, very cold winters. Very cold. To protect their vines here, they're going to bury them each year in about 30 centimeters of soil to protect them from those freezing conditions in the middle of winter. Okay, and just get that natural insulation from the earth. It also means that on a day-to-day basis, we have a similar temperature fluctuation between day and night. So similar here to Mendoza, the differences between the middle of the day and the middle of the night are huge. And that's going to help get ripe fruit, but also retain the acidity, retain the delicate aromas with the cool nights. So that's how they're able to produce such fantastic wines. We've also got a relatively short growing period. There's not going to be a long hang time in this region in China because there's a very harsh and quick start to the winter where you need to get out in the vineyard and start burying your vines. So you better have picked your grapes weeks before, really. So, let's have a smell, let's have a taste. You may have noticed it's a different colour. So, this is a rosé wine. Sparkling wine is pretty much unique in the fact that to make a rosé, you can simply add some red wine into some white wine. Okay, this is not through your base wine production going through a typical rosé maceration process. You've got a base red wine and you're putting a little bit of it into your white wine before the second fermentation, before you put it in the bottle. Okay? Let's have a smell, let's have a taste. fantastic. We've got a slightly different flavour profile again. We do have some of that yeasty, lees, autolytic character. But I'd say actually what stands out here is a really nice sort of fresh fruit. You get strawberry, you get peaches, you still get some of that citrus character, a little bit of orange skin almost coming through, like orange peel. So you've got this red fruit character from your Pinot Noir pressed grapes, but also that slight bit of red wine that you're blending into it. And to achieve a colour like this, they're going to have to put a decent amount of red wine in to achieve a colour that's actually relatively strong. We describe this as a medium intensity in terms of colour. So some fruit character is also going to come from that process. In terms of the structure of the wine though, we're quite similar to those wines before. We've got high acidity, we're off dry again. We can feel that sugar, and we're again at about 11 grams of sugar per litre, and you can detect that on the tongue. If you really concentrate on the central part of your tongue, you can feel a bit of sweetness when you taste this wine. Okay, and I think we've got a lovely long finish as well. We're dealing with wines of all sort of quite different character in some way in terms of their flavour profile, but the structures are reasonably similar, and all the quality levels are actually reasonably similar. I put all of these in the very good category because they've got that nice long finish, they've got a decent complexity of character, and they've got those fruit aromas coming through, which is really important. And that balance here is really from a little bit of sugar going in at the end to balance off that really high acidity. If you have really high acidity and you haven't put that little sugar in the end, perhaps these are going to taste a little bit harsh. Okay? You will see zero dosage wines, no sugar going in at the end, but they tend to be reserved for the warmer climates. So it's quite common to see that in Cava. It's starting to become more and more popular in the sparkling regions of Italy, certainly like Franciacorta. You're starting to see these zero dosage wines because you don't need to balance that same really searing high acidity that we associate with champagne and sparkling wines made in similar cool climates. Right, I will leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us. As I say, get that app because it's really useful if you're a student or a bit of a geek or just completely forget what you tasted the week before. Then get this app, keep all your notes there. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for listening. Feel free to join us for our later sessions. If you're German speakers, actually I should mention that because they are both in German this afternoon, cocktails and Saturday. But thank you very much, and ask me any questions if you have any.